All right. I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Freddie.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's all right. I pulled an all-nighter the other night, and I'm just now recovering from it. I have since slept, but I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm okay. There is once again the round of sickness at my house. We're all sort of in it, past it, just starting it. It's all over the place. We're okay. We're surviving. And it's a beautiful Sunday morning. It's sunny. It wasn't supposed to be sunny today, and it is. So I'm just taking that as a win. And I have my tea, I have my water, and we have this. We have each other. So it's all good. It's all good.
This is a very different vibe from the last time we were recording.
Right? Less chaotic. I hope it kind of turns chaotic as we go, because that was really fun. We just it was so fun.
Oh, man.
But I actively worked at calming myself down this morning, because toddlers and trying to get toddlers out the door is just a challenge. Yeah. So we are the Belladonna Watch Club. Come get cozy with us as we dig into iconic shows and movies that one of us has never seen before. The rules are one of us has to come with fresh eyes, and the other person has to like it enough. A lot. Enough to say, as if you haven't seen this before. Like, we need to watch this together. I need to experience this with you. So.
I like how this slightly changes every week. This is great.
I know. I'm starting to do that on purpose now. I'm going to try to make it a little bit different every time and see if people enjoy that. So we are still watching Gilmore Girls. We are almost on the first season. That is crazy.
I can't believe that. I cannot believe it. We just started. We just started. I don't get it.
I know. We haven't even been doing this for 6 months, and we only have 4 episodes left after today.
Insane.
Hold on. Yeah, 4 episodes left after today of the first season. So this episode is season 1, episode 17, the breakup part 2. So we start off this episode with the exact same scene that we ended the previous episode. Rory telling Lorelai that she and Dean broke up, and they're hugging in the front entryway of the Gilmore house. So this episode is entirely centered around Rory dealing with the complicated emotions of a breakup, but not only a breakup in a small town where everybody loves you to death, and there's no such thing as space or secrets, and everybody's just all up in everybody's business all the time. And so this is about Rory kind of trying to navigate that, and also, being a teenager, navigating a breakup in general. And then Lorelai kind of having her feelings stirred up a little bit as well about her romantic life. So, what did you think of our episode this week?
I think I actually struggled with this episode a little bit, because I couldn't quite tell exactly what tone it was going for. Usually, if I'm finding a character or a scene or something insufferable, I can usually tell that, okay, well, they're doing this for comedy, or this is for this effect, or it's supposed to be this way. But I had a little bit of trouble this episode figuring out what was being done for comedy and what was the more serious stuff. But, that's a me thing. But otherwise, it felt really, really relatable in, again, some uncomfortable ways. And the big sort of surprise at the end was not nearly as surprising. It was infuriating, but not nearly as surprising. I saw it coming a mile away. But I do like that we got some kind of, not resolutions. There was no resolving of anything in this episode. But there was forward movement. And that felt really good.
So, yeah, there was growth or progress, or at least there was some shifting. It wasn't just one note kind of and one perspective the entire time. So that was that. I like that about this episode as well. I also really do like this episode for its relatability, because having been a teenage girl who's gone through breakups, it felt very, very relatable, the different stages of grief and, and pain and heartbreak. And looking at this episode from the perspective of a mom this time, I've never watched it as a mom, and watching Lorelai trying to navigate her daughter's first breakup is also its own storyline and thing to pay attention to.
Definitely.
And it's relatable in the sense of like, how would I feel and what would I do? And I would probably also, have a hard time letting it go. And I'd want to shield her from everybody. And I would want to protect her, but also want the information. And so I'm like trying to strike that balance between the space and understanding would be really, really difficult. And I just keep thinking about how, inevitably I'm going to be in Lorelai's shoes one day. I do like this episode. There's a lot of things that I do not like in this episode, but as a whole, it's sad. It's a sad episode, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad episode. It's relatable and
It's a really good Gilmore Girls episode.
It is. That's exactly it. Where you feel all sorts of things at all different times. Yep. So I have a new segment for me, that I'm going to do. Maybe every time, maybe not. I don't know. I think it's just going to depend on where it ends up with each episode. It's called What Did I Google? So this is what I needed to look up, felt so compelled that I needed to look up while I was taking my notes on the show. So what did I Google? Ishtar? Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? The Golden State Killer? Funny Parsnip? Sodom and Gomorrah? Giant tubs of Ben & Jerry's? 3-gallon ice cream tub? 2-gallon ice cream tub? Gallons to liters. Those were my search terms for this episode. So that's what I did. And you get points if you, Jenny, you get points. I just making this up as we go. You get points if you clue into at what point I needed to Google those things.
Sure. All right.
Okay. Yay. Okay. So as I said, we start off right where we left off the last episode. Like the Lorelai goes over to Rory, is giving her a hug when the last episode ends. This episode starts with them coming away from the hug. Lorelai is like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you broke up? And then Rory is just like, I don't know, we broke up. Like, this is just, we went to dinner and now we broke up. Lorelai is just like, not enough detail. Like, there needs to be more to the story than that. And she's just like, oh, we broke up, okay? Like, she's just not giving her anything. And Lorelai is still just like, but he's obsessed with you. He loves you. Like his borderline stalker behavior, the cover of his notebook. And Rory is just being so avoidant of all of it. She won't give her anything. What were you thinking throughout this part?
She was irritating me that she wasn't telling us what happened. But I do kind of get this, like, this anxious focusing on something else. So
the meatball.
She goes into this babble fest about the restaurant and then the meatball and, oh God, I left it in the car. She didn't leave it in the car. You know why? Because I picked up on it last episode that she didn't have the bag with the meatball when they got to the bonfire.
Oh.
She left it there. So we didn't actually cover in our discussion the meatball last time. But yes, she didn't have it when they got to the bonfire, and then she didn't have it in the car either. So she did not leave it in the car. She left it at the restaurant. She probably got too excited with the like, oh, this date is going so well, something or other. So
maybe Dean's car? Like, does Dean drive? Did they drive to the restaurant?
I don't know. She might.
Like, why would he build her a car before himself?
But he has a truck, though, right?
Does he?
Yeah, that's what he drove her to the dance.
Oh yeah, the dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe she meant that even though she said car, maybe it just like clicked in her mind that it's in Dean's car.
In which case, oh my God, if she left it in Dean's truck. Oh, no, my meatball, the thing that I didn't even get a chance to explain. And like I did, now he has a paper bag in his car with a meatball that I insisted we get. And oh God, and he's going to be thinking about me and we're broken up and this and that. So anyway.
Yeah, she was definitely like hyper focused on this detail because she just didn't really want to be thinking about the actual conflict and the actual breakup conversation. It's infuriating that we don't know the words that were said and what exactly happened. We do have one of our listeners or our viewers on our YouTube page, our previous video, comment that she isn't convinced that they actually broke up and it was a misunderstanding. And that's just kind of what she kind of gleaned from what had happened. But in this episode, she does say like he was pretty clear. And
see, yeah, actually, I think I support that viewer's comment because that's what it really feels like, and I can't imagine Dean actually talking anymore or explaining much more after he leaves her in the car and then walks elsewhere. And yet Rory says a few times he doesn't want to be my boyfriend anymore. He made it clear. I don't know. I don't think he dumped her. I think I agree that it was just separated ways. They're not in the space of talking, and maybe they both interpret that as a breakup, but I can't imagine either one of them officially saying, this is it, we're done, we're finished. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think they actually did break up. I could picture him because he has such a temper and he's so angry and he was so hurt. And he's kind of vicious when he's hurt. So
Yeah.
I think he could easily been like, if you don't love me, I can't be with you. If you don't love me back, I can't be with you.
Maybe.
Because he said, you either love me or you don't. And he's like, if you don't love me, I won't be with you. Like, I could imagine it being that black and white for him.
I can imagine it being that black and white for him, but I can't picture him in the moments after that scene actually saying anything. I more picture him just quietly seething and being really just abrupt, and like they did not speak at all on the drive back, and her slamming the door, and then that's it. I don't know. Whatever. It's up to interpretation. It's up to you. But at any rate, Rory is being completely opaque and not telling us anything of how it went down, and Lorelai is totally left in the dark and clueless as well, as much as she is so patient. And
patient.
Oh my God, she is trying so hard to kindly and gently ask the right questions and try and get something. And I love that even though this scene moves to different rooms in the house, because we eventually go over to Rory's bedroom, it's all the same scene and it all stays in the way. So we follow Rory into her bedroom, where she immediately goes into action and grabs anything that has to do with Dean. And
everything. And poor Lorelai, this part was so sad. Like, again, she's trying to be so supportive and understanding, and then Rory grabs the dress that Lorelai made for her, and she's like, but that's your fancy dress that I made for you. And she's like, yeah, for the dance that I went to with Dean. And Lorelai, at this point, like, you could feel that she's hurt, because she's like, I made that for you. And she's not, in her heartbreak, the fact that Lorelai had anything to do with the dress doesn't matter. And from a mom, you have to kind of like roll with that, because you're not the priority and your feelings aren't what matter in this moment, because your daughter is in pain. But that's so gutting. But she still was like, okay. And so she's putting everything in the box, and then Rory wants Lorelai to take it away. But at this point, Lorelai is still, like you said, being very patient, but still trying to get more information. Did he try something that you weren't ready for? She's just like, what? No. And she's like, well, what do you expect me to do at this point? Like, what do you want me? Like, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. I need to know how dangerous this is. Do I need to call the cops on this, buddy? Like,
yeah, exactly. And as a mom being completely left in the dark, I wouldn't even know what to think. My mind would be reeling at this point. I'm like, okay, she seems shaken, but safe. But I would feel like I wouldn't be able to be the best mom I could be without the information. But she doesn't really want a mom at that point. She just wants to like shut it down, take it away. She's not in the headspace to be receiving advice, because Lorelai does say, like, walk me through the night so we could talk, or like figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And Rory knows perfectly well what happened, allegedly. To Lorelai, it's seeming like it was kind of out of the blue. Anyway, so she's putting like sweaters in. Lorelai's like, excuse me, that's my sweater. You can't even. What are you doing?
I really like this as a sort of a storytelling device and like a insight into Rory's psyche right now. Her clear out gets progressively more desperate with the things that she picks up. Yeah, there's the heartbreaky, hurtful moment of her grabbing the dress that Lorelai made, absolutely. But then she grabs what's in it? Mr. Clucker's, Colonel Clucker's.
I have a clip of that. We'll get there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And so you can tell she's not actually being thoughtful, really, about what she's grabbing, what she's about to get rid of. This is why you do not do the clear out in the aftermath of a breakup.
Because everything would go.
Everything would go. Absolutely everything. Just so as much as you might want to do it, do not do it. Lorelai knows this. And despite Rory's objections and insistence by the end of the scene, she does not actually get rid of all these things.
No, very wise, Lorelai.
Yes.
Yes. So, she's putting like these sweaters in, and Lorelai's like, "What the heck? Like, this is a brand new sweater." And she's like, "Well, yeah, he said it brings out my eyes." And Lorelai's like, "So he's gay." Like, she's trying to bring some levity into the situation, and Rory's just like, "Not funny, not the time for jokes. Like, shut that down immediately." And Lorelai's just like, "Okay, noted, got it." And because with Lorelai not being able to like parent and give the advice and comfort, because you can't fully comfort without information. You could say, some kind of like nice things, and you could, admit that that's a crappy situation, but you can't actually parent well without knowing what you're parenting and like what the deal is. So she tries to kind of shift it and be like, well, if she doesn't want to talk about it, let's just like be funny. And Rory's just like, also no. Lorelai still manages to be a little bit quippy here, which I still very much appreciate.
Colonel Clucker? Are you serious? He has been with you since you were 4.
The first time Dean came over, he picked it up.
Well, that's not the Colonel's fault. He was sitting there minding his own business, and a guy comes in and picks him up. What's a stuffed bird to do?
I don't want to joke about this, not now.
Okay.
It's just, what's a stuffed bird to do?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that shows she's really taken it too far. And actually, if I think about it, that coming shortly after the getting rid of the dress, Lorelai can sort of use Colonel Clucker as a placeholder for her. Like, oh, you're going to get rid of him? You're going to get rid of the dress? You're getting rid of me? And come on, think about what you're actually doing here.
Right? Like, I talked to Dean. I've met Dean. I've hung out with Dean. Like, do I go? Like, what is this? Do we have to move? Like,
well, nearly gone.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, as you said, she asks Lorelai to take it away. She doesn't want it in the house. She wants it far, far away in a dumpster, set it on fire. Like, she wants it gone. And Lorelai has the mom's intuition, because she says to her, like, you might miss having some of this stuff once the dust settles a little bit, like, what if we just put it away somewhere? And Marie's like, no, thank you. That's not enough. And Lorelai, I think rightfully, disregards that and puts it in a closet just down the hall with a blanket on top. Like, at least bring it up to your room and put it in a closet upstairs. I feel like if Rory goes to get a coat, I guess she wouldn't be like, why is this quilt on the floor all jumbled up looking weird? But like in the closet directly outside her room. There's a whole house. Anyway, the next morning, Rory wakes Lorelai up. Rory's so fresh and bright and energized, and as though she has been like very like awake and she's up. And
she's got her
it's
hair,
not
like slicked back in a really high ponytail, and she's even got like a mini scarf tied in her hair, and she looks like peppy, fresh, ready to go, and like, I'm clean, I'm freshly showered. She does not look like a girl who just last night got broken up with.
Not even a little bit. No. She does not look like a girl anywhere on the planet at 6 a.m.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah.
This is like a 9 a.m. like earliest. Like and so I've got this clip here of what Rory's got on her mind.
I made a list of all the things we say we're going to do on weekends, but when the weekend comes around, you say they're too boring to actually do on a weekend day. So then you say we'll do them during the week, which of course we never do. So I think that we should get them all out of the way today once and for all.
I actually really relate to not this plan, but the concept of things being too boring to do on the weekend, but then you're like too tired during the week, or you don't have time during the week, but then you just cannot bring myself to do on the weekend. Like, that's not what my weekend is for. I'm not going to do that.
No.
It's just like all these things I want to do around the house, but it'd be super painful to do it if the children were here. But then when the children aren't here, I will also not do it then because it's so precious. I'm like my time without them is finite. So I'm not going to like reorganize the pantry when the girls are off with their grandparents. But I'm also not going to do it on the weekend, and I'm not going to do it when they're home. So like, I get that. I totally feel it. So Rory has these grand plans to like do all of these really boring things, but they're going to kind of gamify it, and they're going to get prizes. If they, complete the list, they can like get their nails done, or they could go to the fondue place, or they could watch the Stars Hollow Elementary School production of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Can we talk about that for a second?
Do you know? Okay, I zoned out. Well, I didn't hear most of what Rory was saying at this point because I was so bemused by Lorelai's reactions to the windows being opened, letting in all the light, the curtains, the things, and like 6 a.m. No, thank you. I don't care who you are. I was furious with Rory. Like, how rude. You are being insufferable. Or then my ears perked up when I heard about this elementary school production of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Like, what? Did you find? What did you Google?
So, have you seen this movie or play?
I think of Virginia Woolf, and then I think of Elizabeth Taylor because I know that she performed it in a film, but I don't know.
Yes. So Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, of course, classic combo. It was originally a play that was made into a movie, from what I understand.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
It is not appropriate for children in any way, shape, or form at all. So it's about this couple that invites over another, like, slightly younger couple, and the entire play is about their evening together, and everybody's like really drunk and screaming at one another. It's about marital issues. It's about people trying to like seduce one another to upset their partners, and like literally bringing them off and like telling their partners that they're going to do the eggplant dance with the other guy just to like get a rise out of him. Yeah, you're never getting away from that.
No,
Eggplant dance for the rest of our life. It's like extremely adult themes. It sounds like whatever the opposite of a feel-good movie is. It sounds like one of those movies that when you watch it, you leave feeling awful. That makes it, it's powerful, it's potent, it's, all of these things, but it's not pleasant, not nice. And it's like, I just imagine these like third graders. Like, what is this? Yeah. Anyway, so I got to learn about that last night. I'd heard of it. So Lorelai is like, it's 6 a.m. It's Saturday, the day of pre-rest. You have to rest too, so you could rest on Sunday. But Rory's just like, nope, we're getting up, we're doing it. And Lorelai, big sport, knowing that her daughter is going through something, gets up, gets dressed, looks fantastic. She's wearing this like gorgeous, kind of like a medium blue sweater with these adorable rainbow bits. Like, it's like elbow patches, but it's on the top of her shoulder. And they're so
it's what
subtle.
Rory picked out for her.
Oh, I didn't actually notice that she pulled it out of the closet.
Yeah, she does. Like, while she's in her long spiel, she grabs various things, like barely even looking. She just grabs things out of the closet, which at first I thought she was about to like, hey, it's time we did another, junk sale, and like grabbing her stuff and let's sell all these, Mom, and get rid of these. No, thank God. But no, she grabs some things on hangers, throws them onto the bed, and then that's what Lorelai is wearing when she comes downstairs.
Oh, amazing.
And I think Rory has been up all night. I feel like she hasn't gone to sleep.
Quite probably, yeah.
Which then got me thinking how often, like, I've had a breakup and then, like, and I just cannot sleep and blah, blah, blah. Do you have any recurring post-breakup activities? The night of?
I take a lot of baths. I spend a lot of time in the tub when I go through breakups. So I'm trying to think, my last breakup, I like hold myself up like every single night in the bathroom with at the time it was a laptop, but so like a laptop, tablet, whatever, with like whatever show that I was watching.
Mhm.
And I would just be like in the tub with my tablet, whatever, on the toilet. And I would just be like hiding and escapism. That's what I would do. And then I would go through probably like how do I put this? Like, not vengeful, because it's not like directed against them, but like, okay, well, I'm better off anyway type thing, where, like I went bungee jumping once after a breakup. Yeah. So I'll be like, well, fine. Like, I'm better off and I'm going to have all this fun and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and just go, like whatever the equivalent of like getting bangs is. But like, yeah, so I take a lot of baths in the first little while.
Yeah.
And then I do try to live as much life as possible, but like probably in an unsustainable way, maybe a little bit risky.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you need like a big, like a hard pull in the other direction of like living life and enjoying and being exciting instead of wallowing. Yeah, just like a big hard pull in the other direction to sort of get you back on the line again.
I have been with my husband now we're going on 14 years. My last breakup was in fact with him. But yeah, after that particular breakup, I spent a lot of time in the tub. At that point, I was early 20s, so I had some wine, watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I think of feeling heartbroken, feeling that like instant pain, my go-to thing was a particular show. And yeah, just I don't want anyone to be around because I want to be watching a show. I want to be in a different world. But that go-to show for me is Golden Girls. It needs to get me laughing, and it always does. It gets me laughing, but because it's about these women who are like way beyond my 20s experiences and breakups and stuff. They are women who have lived through all of that. You get this feeling of I'll be okay. They've had to deal with this so many times before. I'll be okay. I can just sort of pretend that I'm, in my 60s, 70s, 80s, and let's look forward to that. And so it was helpful to have something that can get me laughing, that can distract me, and that helps me sort of look towards the future. I certainly didn't want anyone around asking me what was going on. And I guess I was lucky in a way that I didn't have anybody sort of nagging me about that. My dad was just, oh, she's crying again. I don't know what's going on, but she's over there. But my dad didn't ask questions. And if I was at home, my mom left my dad and moved to England when I was 16, and I hadn't had a boyfriend by then. So all of my breakups have been without my mom around. I would have to, actively call her and tell her what was going on. So I don't have this experience of a parent and even I have an older sister, 5 years older than me, but she had moved out by the time all this was happening. So I didn't have anyone around immediately to sort of ask what was going on. So it's interesting to watch this show and see it happening here and see, what it might be like to experience these things and have a very present mom and sometimes big sister role as well available to you.
Well, my dad in these situations, and my dad, you know my dad, would insert his opinions. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that was like an attempt to make me feel better, but it was almost always the wrong thing to say, especially with this breakup with my husband, current husband, only husband. He looked and he's like, oh, well, it's not like that's the guy that you were going to marry anyway. Like,
I hope you remind him of that regularly.
Sometimes, yeah. Also, I had a really big crush on a guy who you'll also remember this, who lived far away. We had like a long distance little thingy for a while, like early high school. Mm-hmm. And on my wedding day, my dad wore the t-shirt of that guy. Like that guy's had a website and he did all of his like animation and stuff. And so he had t-shirts on my wedding day. We're getting ready at my parents' house. And my dad was walking around with this guy's like website t-shirt on. And I'm like, Dad. What's wrong with you? Like, read the room, man. What are you doing? I thought I'd love it because there are like literal pictures of my dad wearing this shirt on my wedding day of like what I would argue to be my first love. Like I was so into this guy.
That's a Gilmore Girls plotline.
That is a Gilmore Girls plotline. There are so many relatable things for me in this show. Anyway, so Lorelai has gone downstairs and looks into the living room, and Rory has like rearranged the furniture. At first, you're like, "Wait, what am I looking at?" Because we see Lorelai and she's pausing and she's looking around the room, and we haven't, in my opinion, seen so much of the room that like we instantly recognize that it's been rearranged. Were you like, what are we looking at right now?
Well, I could see that the couch was in a different place, or the couch was facing a different direction. I at first I thought she had like gone through and not so much deliberately rearranged everything, but just moved everything around and left it. And I was thinking, is she like looking for something? Is she hiding things? Is she finding more stuff to do with Dean that she's trying to throw out? Like, what has happened?
Yeah, it almost looked like the place is like ransacked.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, the like dress form is in a different spot. Like everything is moved. Once again, Lorelai tries to get Rory to open up about everything that's been going on and what happened last night and how she's feeling. And Rory won't do it. Not a thing. But at least here she says that she can't. Like she gives her a little bit of something instead of just saying like, what, we broke up, that's it. She's just like, I can't talk about it. So at least it's something. It's admitting that there is something to talk about. And as like Rory's listing off all of these things that they're going to be doing in their day, Lorelai's like, well, why don't we park that list and wallow? Like, let's just get comfy. We'll rent movies. We'll get ice cream and pizza. And we're just going to hide a little bit, like stay in and process this. Rory does not want to. She says, absolutely not. She says she doesn't want to be that girl. Which
that kind of girl who falls apart because she doesn't have a boyfriend. I get it. And it was 2000, 2001. And it was very much still a thing, teenage girls' minds, that you don't want to be like the other girls. Not that girl. Not like that. And I remember the big divide. There was still very much a divide of like smart girls versus girls who care about boys and flirting and dating. There was this strict divide. And I know that was a thing, but certainly looking at it from 2024, it's so painful and closed-minded and so not the feminist that Rory thinks she is. And it makes me upset that she is like this, that this is what we're seeing in her character, but I get it. But also, that's not what happens when you wallow. My experience with wallowing is like, yeah, you want to sort of think about anything else, and you need that time to just be upset and angry. But what she's doing by just like immediately moving on doing something else is she's not allowing herself the opportunity to process the change and the loss, and to analyze what happened and to actually glean something and learn and move on from what you've just experienced. That is the quote unquote smart girl thing to do. She wants to be smart and intelligent about it, and because then she goes and talks about Harvard again, like she wants to keep her eye on the prize. That's what she's got to do now, and she's immediately focused in the other direction. But girl, like life experience as well is going to help you get into Harvard or anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, life experience is so valuable, and they're going to see that, But if you don't process this, it's not just that. Yeah, the kind of girl who does fall apart. She's not just falling apart. She's experiencing emotions, and she's learning a lot while she's doing that.
And I think she's confusing the types of people, because there's not just like being upset about a loss isn't just making you, I need to have a boyfriend. You can feel the loss without needing to jump out and find another boyfriend. That's not what Lorelai is telling her to do.
That's right.
Lorelai isn't saying, well, back on the saddle, like, let's go find somebody. She's, trying to say it's okay to feel, because he's also, when you're with somebody, they're your best friend. You tell them everything. You talk all day. It's a significant chunk of your life that you cannot access anymore. And Rory, I think, is intentionally avoiding that. And that's why she is saying, well, I don't want to be the girl that falls apart just because she doesn't have a boyfriend. I just want to move on. And she's intentionally avoiding the prospect that there is other ways to avoid the pain. They brought up, like the movies and whatever. And so she says, when Rory says she doesn't want to be that girl, and Lorelai goes, what, the girl that doesn't watch Ishtar? Had you heard of Ishtar?
Well, I
2
know
points now.
who. Thank you. I know who Ishtar is, but I don't know about a movie Ishtar. Please tell me.
1987 cult classic, Ishtar, about 2 terrible lounge singers that get booked into a club in Morocco and become pawns in an international power play between the CIA, the Emir of Ishtar, and rebels trying to overthrow his regime. It has Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman.
Sure.
And they're the lounge singers. It's known as one of the biggest flops of all time. It's in the top 100 top 100 movies that lost the most amount of money for the studios. Over $100 million in losses, because it was just apparently so bad, that it has its cult following. Of course. But my favorite thing, it's a Golden Girls punchline.
Oh.
So I'm so pleased that you brought up Golden Girls in this episode, because there's an episode in season 3.
Before you get into this, Golden Girls it certainly rivals Gilmore Girls for the amount of pop culture references that you're allowed to just let them go over your head.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're in a completely different decade when it comes to Golden Girls. So yes, okay, continue. What does Sophia say?
Sophia says, let me tell you, girls, the 3 most important things I've learned about life. Number 1, hold fast to your friends. Number 2, there's no such thing as security. Number 3, don't go see Ishtar. Woof.
Yep.
Those are Sophia's 3 things in life to keep in mind.
She is a wise old woman. You listen to her.
That's exactly. I've never seen an episode of Golden Girls. So I've seen clips, and I know. We're gonna get there. As you said, Rory is like, well, I have Harvard to think about. And then we're like, wait, what girl? And even Lorelai at this point is like, what? So we've got this scene.
I have things to do. I have school and Harvard to think about.
Honey, Harvard's 3 years away.
But now is the time to be preparing for it. I mean, Harvard is hard to get into. And I don't know why I even spend my time thinking about anything else.
Because you have a pulse and you are not the president of the audiovisual club.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we tell them that we were in the audiovisual club?
Oh yes! Oh, let's. We were, but our branding.
Oh, completely different.
We were the lighting queens.
We were the tech crew.
We were the lighting queens of the tech crew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite memories of high school. High school is high school, and there's a whole lot of really bad memories. But some of my favorite memories from high school were from doing lights for various things and being up in the booth. We had the nastiest. I don't even know how many decades old that whole rig thing was, but we had one of those follow spots that it was not mechanized. Oh no, it was not you could not control it. You did it with your arms. And it had this lefty-loosey, righty-tighty thing you had to grind and twist to loosen it up so you could actually use the follow spot. And then it had this little knob, but it would just overheat. And it always smelled like burning dust in that space. It was. And then apparently you could actually program things on that lighting board. I had one. I think
we did try.
We did try. I had one lesson from a guy who had actually graduated the year before I started.
What year did we start doing that? Grade 11? It must have been grade 11.
One lesson. And then it illuminated to me. Lighting illuminated. It was actually programmable, but we never used it. We just did on the spot, choosing, okay, we're going to have some blues, we're going to have some orange, and put up the
Well, we
the
did have
faders
script. We did have scripts with lighting cues, so that was helpful.
Used all fingers manually to create all of the scenes. Oh yeah, it wasn't just like a program, step. No, you did it all.
Extremely low tech, vintage. It was amazing. Anyway, so we're like 9 minutes into the episode. All right, we're gonna move right along. So they leave. They're trying to get to Luke's. Lorelai makes an excellent Footloose reference when Rory says that they can't go to Luke's. And she's like, jump back. What? Because they can't walk near Dosey's because he might be there. They can't walk down like the back way because that's Dean's street. They can't walk by anywhere because they might bump into Dean or there's some reference to Dean. And Lorelai is like, listen, I love you. I love all the different terms of endearment that she uses for her in these moments. She calls her like my heart. And like, it's really, really cute. Because they're like, they're deep things to say, right? My heart, my soul, my love, everything that I adore, and they're a whole part of my person. You cannot keep me from coffee. Like this is her in drawing the line.
Rory does not realize it, but she is being worse than a girl who wallows at this point. Because what she's doing, and she doesn't realize it, is she is altering her whole life. And her mom's life. They can't take a detour along this street, on Peach Street, because Dean lives on Peach Street. And she's forcing them to make all of these rearrangements, and we can't go here, we can't do there, and alter your life just to avoid him. Like, girl, this wouldn't happen if you could just process things. If you just took the time to process, this wouldn't be happening. So this is so much worse. It is altering your life and ruining it. But also, she's unsure if Dean might be at Dosey's Market working. It's 6 a.m.
The store is closed.
The store is closed. But also, this is picked up on this last week. No, we already know that he's working that evening.
Yep.
Because if he wasn't working that evening, then that evening was going to be their anniversary dinner. So that's why they had the dinner on the Friday instead of the Saturday. And come on.
She is locked out. She's like, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to remember. I don't want to think about it. We're not going that way. Absolutely not. So they end up in this like back alley behind Luke's, I guess. And Rory goes on about how she is like really fascinated by people's garbage and how somebody's garbage can tell like a lot about them, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
Totally true. And yeah, you could also get somebody's DNA from the garbage.
Yeah.
There was a very notorious criminal that was literally on the run and like was never found for 30 years. And then somebody used one of the services like 23andMe. So this was my Golden State Killer Google search. Somebody put their DNA into something like 23andMe, Ancestry, one of those ones. And the police used that to get like a familial DNA tie. I think it was a sibling or a cousin, like a close cousin. And so they were able to narrow in the DNA from that person based on their family to some of their suspects and people who were around at the time. So they were like, okay, so your DNA matches this guy, and this guy was one of our suspects. So we're going to look more into this guy. Literally, he was active and criming. Some of the most horrendous things I have ever heard in my life. This man did.
God. That's a Jenny no-go zone.
Yeah.
Jenny avoids anything at all because my imagination just gets the better of me.
So he started criming, as far as we know, from 1973 all the way to the mid to late 80s. And he was found in, I think it was 2019 because of this garbage DNA stuff. Because somebody put their DNA in, the cops were able to like cross-reference some databases, and then they went and got something from his garbage after, because they're like, this is your cousin. We're going to go and grab his DNA from like his soda can or whatever that he had in his garbage. Anyway, so when Rory was talking about, it was incredible. And now he's in jail.
She would be all over that story.
Yeah, people's garbage helped out with that. So like Rory's definitely onto something.
In her noticing and picking up and mentioning, you can learn a lot about people from their garbage. It's showing that she is still curious about why people do what they do, why people behave in certain ways, and that, like, yeah, you can learn a lot about somebody by their garbage. So she still has this like this want to know about people's behavior. But the best way to find out is to learn by living. And again, process the emotions, figure it out. You know, you can't be that removed from it. What's up? What?
I think she's probably thinking about her box of stuff in the dumpster.
Oh, guaranteed.
She's thinking about the fact that her stuff is in a dumpster somewhere, and that's why she's so fascinated with the garbage. Because she thinks that her story is in the garbage somewhere. And that's the garbage fascination.
Ooh, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Guaranteed.
Yeah. And I'm feeling like one of our subscribers was going to explain that to us in the comments, and I got there first. And I'm so excited.
We do love, again, I always mention this at the end, but we do love so much reading your comments, all of them, all of the comments, no matter what, even if they're just short, like, hey, great, I love it. We love it. You will rarely find me in the comments because I am trying my best to avoid spoilers, but I appreciate that people have been really, really good at not dropping in spoilers so far. But Lisa's the one who's in the comments most of the time.
We read, obviously, every single one of them. And I try to respond to every single one. There's one of you out there. I'm waiting. Somebody has asked what a certain song was, and I keep meaning to get it.
Oh.
And I'm not ignoring you. I will get there. So they get to Luke's, and it is packed to the gills with people. And they're like, who are these people? We've never seen them before. And they're like, it's a 6 a.m.
crowd. I used to work at Starbucks, and I was an opener. I would start my shift at 4:30 in the morning, and I would work from 4:30 a.m. till usually like 1 in the afternoon. It was great. I was never sleeping, but it was great. And yeah, the 6 a.m. crowd is something pretty serious. Like the 6 a.m. crowd in my area of Vancouver, you would just get the most most of them for me were contractors and construction guys getting ready to go off to whatever their site was for the day. They would be the ones that followed the security guards. So security guards would come in at 5 a.m. to go over to whatever place they were being security guards.
Securing.
So whatever place they were securing.
That's not what it's guarding.
And then, most of our 6 a.m. crowd was that. But then we'd have like the students who were usually the private school students. They would show up there and sort of gather up and gaggle in posses. What? I don't know what it's The private school posse. I don't know. Yeah. And then we'd have these like retired Vietnamese men from just around the corner, and they'd all like gather. They'd show up around 6 and they'd stay there until like 12 sometimes. Like my whole shift. Anyway, it was great. 6 a.m. crowds are always an entertaining thing. Let's get to Luke's.
Okay.
It's been an hour and a half and we're at the bottom of my first page.
Yeah. So they get there. They don't recognize anybody there. And this is one of my favorite parts of the episode, because this idea that there's this like whole other Stars Hollow that exists because they wake up late and that they don't even know anybody. They're like, who lives here? Luke isn't there at first. It's Rachel. Like, oh, hey. Hey, Rachel.
Wearing a lovely red and black buffalo plaid shirt, which might be hers, but also might be Luke's. We don't know.
I think it's too form-fitting to be Luke's. I think it's too flattering. Okay. Yeah. It looks like a woman's shirt, but she's very much going for the vibe. She's doing that thing, the coupling thing, where people kind of look the same. Yeah. So, Lorelai's being friendly, but she's not impressed. She's like, oh, you're staying? Great.
Rachel drops that she's likely going to be here for a while. Like, if I'm going to be here for a while, I might as well put myself to good use. And like, oh, really? I really didn't think she was going to be sticking around. I really, really didn't. And that's not just my wishful thinking, but evidently.
Yeah. And, she has to kind of have the implication, like, we stayed up late last night, so I let Luke sleep in this morning. And they're just like, girl, tell me it's because you were packing your bags. So Rachel is manning the diner. They sit down, they find a table, and Rory feels like everybody's staring at her, and then everybody knows that something happened. Nobody even knows you. You do not know the people in that diner. They are not looking at you.
There is one person staring at her. It's the guy behind her, who we can see over her shoulder when she sits down at the table. And I think he's trying not to stare. And I think it's not intended. I think it's just an extra who, maybe it's his first day on the set and he's always aware of the camera. And so he catches the camera's eyes sometimes. So he's the only one who is actually staring or trying not to stare at Rory.
Lorelai's like, nobody even knows. It's okay. It just happened yesterday. In comes Miss Patty while Lorelai's going up to order. And Miss Patty knows. And Lorelai tries to be like, okay, don't tell anybody. Rory's feeling really, like she just doesn't want everybody to know. She just wants to like exist. Miss Patty's feeling responsible because she got Dean the job at Josie's.
The care and responsibility just like filters way back to everyone feels like they've had some kind of a hand in making this happen. And you're like, oh, bless, that's very considerate, but also stay out of it.
That's it. It's like you could have given him the job, but it was still them who made the relationship. Like you didn't, not like it's not about you. And people do that in relationships and like things that happen. They like make it somehow about them when it's not. So that's what the whole town is doing. So Lorelai goes to talk to Luke, who has come down, Sleeping Beauty, looking actually pretty fresh. It's looking pretty good. Yeah. Yep. Lorelai is ordering some pancakes for Rory. She wants extra special chocolate chips, blah, blah, blah. Making it pretty obvious that something is going on, despite trying to not make it obvious that something is going on. And so Luke, having known them and knowing them so well, he's like, okay, so like, what are we celebrating? What's going on? And Lorelai tells him what happened. And immediately Luke is like, I knew it. I knew he was bad news. Like, how could he? He's so upset. And he says, like, this is actually really, what does he think? He's gonna do better than Rory? Like,
yeah, I picked up on that too. But I find it interesting that that's his first like remark about it. It's like, what, he thinks he's gonna do better than her? Like, I wonder what that says about. That definitely says something about Luke in when it comes to like girls and breakups and whatever. I'm not quite sure what it says, but there's something in there that's that's where it is. And I like that Luke gets angry with Dean before doing she must be before going to Rory and thinking, she must be suffering and how hard it is and is she doing okay. Eventually he does, shortly after he asks how is she and how is she doing with it. But I do think it's very funny that like his immediate reaction is, God, that jerk,
I don't think it's necessarily speaking to him and his relationships. I think that reaction is, and that what he said about Rory is the like fatherly, protective, like, and immediately like him thinking that is him like seeing Rory as this like flawless, sweet, incredible.
Well, but that's how Dean feels about her. Is that, I think anyway, is that she is so ideal. And she is, like, the thing is that Luke gets it wrong. I don't think he does think he can do better than Rory.
No, that's it. But he has no context for why he broke up with her, right? And so usually when you break up with somebody, it's because, it's not working for whatever reason. In this case, it's not that it's not working. It's like it's working too well. And it's just like all confused. And so immediately when you hear, people break up, it's because someone wasn't happy and wants something different and whatever. And so immediately that's where his head goes. And so he calms down because Lorelai's like, would you just shh.
He does get loud. He
does get loud. I'm surprised Rory, like, it's what, like a table and a half away? Like, she's not far. She would have heard that whole thing, except that she is engaged in another conversation with Kirk.
Bless him. Oh.
She's like, there was just something about that guy that I didn't like, and I didn't know if it was like, I think he said something about like his coat or like his floppy hair, and I think it was his floppy hair, and I just didn't like him. It didn't sit well with me. Lorelai's like, runs over. It's like, Kirk, what's going on? Like, okay, goodbye. Like, leave her alone. And Kirk says that he will not leave until Lorelai accepts his apology for not voicing his concerns about Dean and his floppy hair, and that it will not happen again. Because Kirk also feels like this is somehow his fault. Small town, man. So weird. And I would not want to go out at all. Like, if Rory is feeling like, I don't want to talk about it, I just want to move on, the very last thing you do is go to the center of town.
That's it. Yeah.
You're going to see people. If you don't want to face it head on, if you want to pretend like nothing happened, You go to the next town. Like, you go where people don't know you.
Lorelai suggests again, like, do you want to go home? You can do this. Like, is it wallowing time now? And she further explains, like, just wallowing doesn't make you get over the person, right? So she begins to explain it's part of the process. And so now we're also sort of processing it with her, and we're starting to sort of move through or move past the immediacy of a breakup and the like immediate reactions and feelings and emotions. So and so Lorelai explaining this and them talking about actually moving on from a relationship, she gets questioned by Rory, who, fair enough, asks, "Is that how you got over Max?" Oh, how long did it take you to get over Max?
Yeah, and she did not expect the spotlight to be shone back on her, and she doesn't know how to answer the questions, and she's kind of trying to avoid it herself, like mother, like daughter. Where, and you know, this is a lot of where all of this is coming from, because Lorelai doesn't examine her own feelings often, so much of the time. So obviously, Rory doesn't know how to process, because they both just avoid how they're feeling. And Lorelai tries to get it out of her, but having never modeled it herself, it's like not working. She's like, well, yeah, did wallowing help you get over Max? And Lorelai's like, ooh, no. And then so Rory tries to say, okay, well, how long did it take you to get over Max? And this is where she really can't answer the question. She's like, I don't know, some time. And Rory is so bookish. And so she wants the numbers. She's data driven. She's like, no, I need specifics. Like, how long am I going to feel this way? Tell me. Yeah. Tell me, please. And Lorelai kind of falls short on this because she doesn't have an answer. And it would be entirely subjective anyway. Like, oh, yeah. So Luke comes over and is like, hey, we've got strawberries in the back. You want some strawberries? You like strawberries, right? And Rory's like, yes. Okay. I'm going to go get you some strawberries. And as he's walking away, looks out the window, and Dean is coming up in the street.
Luke, he's on the other side of the street, by the way. He's not like right outside the window. Whatever.
He's coming to Luke's. You can see that he's on his way. So he is farther enough away, but Luke is like, gonna cut this off at the pass. Absolutely not. I'm sure Dean is also not expecting to see Rory there. He knows them. Yeah. So he's probably thinking he's doing the like, okay, I'm gonna go early so that I don't see them because they're gonna be in later. And I don't want to deal. So poor Dean thinks that he's also like avoiding the drama by going in at 6 a.m. and to like get his coffee. But like, why doesn't anyone make coffee at home?
Or like,
come on,
maybe he's not going to Luke's. Maybe he's just walking down the street. It's the one street in Stars Hollow.
Well, like, no, he says he's going to get coffee. He tells Luke.
Oh, okay. All right. But like, the dude's outside.
Well, I'm assuming that Luke's is the only thing open at that time. So if somebody's out on a mission, walking towards your establishment, Luke was right on his assumption, because Dean does say he was going for coffee. Then this happens.
Stop right there.
What?
Where are you going?
To get coffee?
Wrong.
Excuse me?
Not going on there, buddy.
What are you talking about?
Turn around, bag boy.
Are you
You
serious?
see a smile on this face?
No, but what's different about that?
What's that supposed to mean?
Interesting. Not exactly known as a town crack-up.
So you're a smart guy now, huh?
What the hell are you doing?
Just exercising my right not to serve you.
What are you talking about? I'm not even inside yet. Let go of me.
You first!
Oh, boys.
So much to unpack here. Okay, first, Luke being like, what's that supposed to mean? Because like, am I smiling? Like, am I making it? And Dean is like, that's irrelevant. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, love that. After Luke says like, no, I'm not going to serve you. Why does Dean still try to go in?
But he doesn't. I think he's just trying to step onto the sidewalk. They're standing in the middle of the street.
I think he was trying to like get around him to go in. That's how it felt to me, instead of like turning around and walking away.
To me, because I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about this actual, like, it's a fight. They're like wrestling with each other. Yeah. Because the framing of the next bit, we see the fight through the window. So the framing of it makes me think it's intended to be for comedy, but this is still assault.
Like of a minor. He's 16.
Yeah.
Get your hands off that child.
And so it is very funny, and you want to be like, yeah, Luke, like Luke is being, protective, gone in dad mode, and yeah, but you're also like, Dean hasn't done anything at all.
I don't think you're supposed to root for Luke in this moment. I don't think so.
But so then this is still what makes me wonder, like, how are we supposed to take this fight? Because it is a huge overreaction on Luke's part. It is funny, and like obviously it's not a punching fight, but it might have turned into punching at some point, who knows. They're in the middle of the street and Dean's on his way. Yeah, he's gonna go get coffee or whatever. It is a huge overreaction, but Luke has been scary before, like when he's yelled at Suki before, and he's very scary. He doesn't know what happened. He doesn't know how exactly the breakup happened and you know, who's to blame or whatever, because nobody knows at this point exactly what went down. And it is funny, it's sort of slapsticky, but I come away from that just being like, oh my god, emotions are just out of hand. But the only conclusion I've come to is that it's meant to be a sort of very like distinct binary type of representation of males dealing with their emotions versus how females typically do.
Interesting.
So the girls wallow or avoid wallowing. You know, they will wallow or they'll do what Rory does. But the men, again, Luke doesn't actually know what happened, so he doesn't even go through like what analyzing the step by step. He just immediately turns to like, get this guy out of my sight. He can't even be civil, right? He's not going to serve him. Like, it's his establishment, right? Like, it's his job. He's not. And you know, Dean as well just sort of is in, you know, fight mode as well, because obviously he has just been tackled near enough. So I think that's my only explanation.
I think it would have gone differently even if Luke had already known about the breakup or whatever, if Rory hadn't been in the diner. So he's not saying like, I don't like you, I don't want to serve you because of you, who you are. He's saying, in my opinion, you can't go in there because Rory is in there right now. And I don't want you in there right now with her because I am protecting her from you. Because you broke up with her, she is hurt, stay away. I totally agree with the representation of feelings, like guys getting angry and physical rather than sad and introspective and analytical and like all of that. Totally agree with that. I think that's a good point. And then I think it's supposed to feel absurd. That's how it's supposed to feel. Like it's supposed, like it's kind of silly because it's a silly kind of slappy wrestly thing, and the framing of it through the window is kind of silly. But the level of involvement and like protectiveness from the town that Rory is receiving versus the like total alienation of Dean, it's supposed to feel awkward and absurd and uncomfortable because it is. And I think we're supposed to come away from that being like, well, this is awful. And imagine being 16 and having this level of scrutiny and attention on your personal problems.
Yeah. I think I've never so quickly put myself in Dean's place than I have after this scene. That just like instantly, wow. I remember from last week, he has no one to talk to. Like, who is he going to go home and talk to? He has one friend who's kind of adult, basically, and he is the outsider. We have not heard a positive opinion of him from anybody, and it just, oh god, I've never been in that kind of position before, and I can't imagine what that would feel like. And as much as you want to be like, you broke Rory's heart, how dare you be such a, I can't help but feel some kind of sadness for the guy, for sure.
That's it. The town's response is ridiculous. And yeah, like you said, like nobody said anything positive about him, and none of it has to do with who he is as a person. All of it has to do with basically being involved with the town darling. Rory is everybody's daughter, and everybody watched her grow up, and she's so sweet and kind and doesn't get into trouble. And she got hurt, so you know, Dean is public enemy number one to an entire town. Like, that's so hard, and I really feel for him here. Doesn't excuse his temper, his behavior, any of that, but that also doesn't mean that he deserves to be like blacklisted from everything. They try to kind of like keep the scene light, because like Lorelai comes out, she sees it, she's like, excuse me, what is happening? Like, get your hands off of him, stop it. She like grabs Luke by the shoulder, the collar or something like that, and like pulls him away. And then he goes like, he started it. Like, it's supposed to sound like super immature and juvenile, because it is.
Because it is.
And so
no pancakes.
No pancakes. But they go out.
I like that they sort of have in a sense, a stumbling start, as much as they're trying not to.
They get home and the mood has completely shifted. They're so pleased with themselves and their purchases and their accomplishments. Like, they're over the moon and cute, and it could be like any other Saturday. Rory is in her room, knock on the door, Babette comes in.
Babette! She's always a welcome sight until...
Oh my God. She's like shouting, "Rah!" Like, so loud. That's probably not even her shouting, really. That's just her like being. And immediately Lorelai is like, okay, nope, whoop, oh, out the door. Out the door. And just for you, Jenny, I got a clip of Babette. This is the one.
I can help.
I know you
I can tell her how you have to go through a lot of bad relationships to get to that really good one.
No, it's very good advice.
Oh, yeah. And I can tell her about all the horrible men I've known in my day.
Oh, that'd be
really,
great.
truly awful men.
Babette.
I was pushed out of a moving car once.
Oh, that's a happy anecdote. Oh, I want you to tell her all that. But
Oh, Babette.
I love this, and I love people like this who do have stories like that. They are so valuable. However, in this scene, it's just telling you, like, advice and guidance, it only helps when you're ready to hear it. Like, all of her brilliant stories and amazing, wow, terrible, holy cow, incredible. It wouldn't do anything right now.
And also, because nobody knows what happened. So the stories that she tells may not even be the relatable ones. And Lorelai's like, wow, okay, yeah, sure. I would really want you to tell her those kinds of stories one day. But yeah, so the last little bit of it is like Rory coming out of her room, hearing that, and then she ends up going back in her room and kind of retreating, and she lies down on her bed and goes to fiddle with her bracelet. But it's gone because she took it off last night. And that is another just like reminder that things have changed.
Well, and it's almost, I saw it as sort of her choosing to touch her wrist, knowing that the bracelet isn't there. I think it's a sign that she is feeling some feels, because she dramatically flops on the bed on her back and then touches her wrist and her, this pained look on her face. And then we get some great physical acting here where she takes her time with being the upset, and then she almost looks like she's about to cry, but she doesn't. And she, without saying anything, punches the bed to snap out of it and take herself out. She's like, oh, I'm about to feel like crying emotions about this? Nope. No. I need to return to my, quote, focus on Harvard and the important things. You know, I need to get back to this. Pulls her schoolwork out of her bag and like, nope, we're gonna cut these tears off before they even come out. Like, nope, it's not happening. But in her bag, she finds a poster, a folded up piece of paper for
Her little
Madeline's
flyer.
party.
I guarantee the people who were watching our last episode being like, what do you mean you don't remember? Like, of course the flyer's important. Of course this is relevant. Like, I remembered the party, but I couldn't necessarily remember the context of that party. So like, I remember the things that happened. I knew what was coming up next. I had just last week had forgotten the context of that flyer. And like, it makes sense. The writers wouldn't just like plop it in and then let it disappear. No. It wouldn't have been there had it not been for a reason. I just couldn't remember, okay? So inspiration strikes. She sees this flyer, and that's sort of my breakup vibe. So I would do something like that. I'd like out on the town, make myself known, be spontaneous, and do all the things that I didn't do because I was in a relationship with somebody. And so like, just the being out and doing things. So, but I would wallow first. Yes. And then I'd be like, screw this, I'm going to the party. So she goes to tell Lorelai that she's going to this Chilton party. And Lorelai's like, why don't you just stay home and read the bell jar? Won't that have the same type of effect? Do you know anything about this? What is the bell jar?
Is Sylvia Plath.
Okay.
Oh God, how do I distill it? I can't remember if it's her like diaries or like fictionalized diaries. It is intensely emotional. It's a lot of like being the outsider, being the intellectual but introspective, and there's a lot of darkness and heaviness. It's very depressing. Very depressing. I think there's some like dark self thoughts in there. You might want to Google a more accurate thing. Talk about some of these things like I know them intimately. I don't. So I've not actually read The Bell Jar. Well, that was a deliberate choice because of being a person who struggles with depression and some very, very intense emotions. So I actively avoided it because of my external understanding of it. So I'm sure
Googling
a lot of people
it.
have. Oh, yes, please. Good, do that.
It's about the life of Esther Greenwood, a college student who dreams of becoming a poet. She is selected for a month-long summer internship as a guest editor of Ladies' Day magazine, but her time in New York City is unfulfilling as she struggles with issues of society or identity and societal norms. So yeah, it sounds kind of like what you were saying about being like the outsider and not being able to fit in. And so at that party, Rory would be that person, right? Of like
true.
not.
Yeah, good point.
So that's, I think, what Lorelai is trying to get at when you're.
She does it on a very like raw and like pretty uncomfortable level, as far as I understand.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about just like her writing in general. And so Lorelai has the absolutely genius, wonderful, brilliant idea of bringing Lane to the party, which I'm so glad that Rory accepted, because at this point, Rory is just being like, no, thank you to everything that Lorelai is suggesting.
Yeah.
But she's like, that's a great idea, Mom. Thank you. Thank God for that. And I feel like Lorelai must be like, yes, like a win. Something stuck. Something I did is going to be helping her right now. So that felt like a huge win. So they're getting ready for the party, and Lane looks so grown up.
Oh my gosh, she looks beautiful. Her top.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Her top is beautiful. Her hair is doing this like flippy out thing. It just looks fantastic. She's got this like just like a wide scoop neckline, but it's got sort of little fabric rosette things along the
little
neckline.
baubles on it, kind of.
Yeah, and it's like a scarlet red that looks stunning on her.
Incredible. That's this like bright red.
Which makes me wonder, whose is it? I feel like it might be Lorelai's.
I was gonna say, I think it's probably Lorelai's.
Yeah, I think so.
Her hair is giving very like 1960s, like the way that it's like the big curl outward. It's very cute. But this look makes her look significantly older than Rory. Rory looks very young.
Yeah.
And at least at the beginning where they're getting ready and Rory and Lane is asking her how she's doing and how are you feeling and blah, blah, blah. Again, it's the like older sister, older cousin. Like she does not feel like a counterpart to Rory in this scene to me. Again, she has this like expression that she gets on her face of like wise, experienced, 27-year-old friend. It's not giving teenage to me. It's not giving teenager.
Fair, yeah. I do love that we do get this scene with them because we get to see the best friend role of what happens with a post breakup or some kind of big crisis in someone's life. What happens with the best friend? What do they come in with? And she does it really well. And I like her suggestion. She's happy to go along to the party. This is going to be great. It's going to be an interesting time. We're going to do this together. But she has the suggestion that doesn't even involve wallowing. She's not saying like, oh, are you sure you should do that? Or maybe you should just like be by yourself for a while and like be upset about it. No, her suggestion is just comfort and normalcy. Like we can just stay here and watch this and order whatever and eat these things and we can talk or not talk. Like just chill, just be normal and just get through this together in a way. So I love that. But she also doesn't hold her back either. She's just kind of saying, all right, well, let's go. We're going to this party.
Yeah, she just wants to make sure that it's the right choice for Rory in whatever it is that she's feeling, because it is pretty out of character for her. So that she's just like, are you sure you want to do this? She says yes. Okay. Lorelai comes in and wants to give Rory a necklace to wear. I love this line so much. Again, I see myself when my kids are older saying stuff like this, because Lorelai is like, turn around. And I was like, why? And Lorelai goes, 14 hours of labor. That's why. Like, just do it. I'm your mother and you put me through this. Just turn around. Don't ask questions. So Rory's looking in the mirror, looks down and sees the box of cornstarch on the dresser that she forgot in her scoop of all of the things.
She forgot, but we didn't.
I didn't see it there before. Did you see it still on the desk?
Oh, yeah. yeah.
Like when she was picking everything
Well,
up.
I thought that was going to be the first thing she would go and grab.
Oh, no, I didn't. I
Mm.
didn't really see it. I was so focused on mostly Lorelei's confusion and like trying to.
Mm.
I didn't even know it was in the room. I have no idea. But you did. Well done, you.
Well, it's not physically there. Yeah, I don't think it's in any of the shots.
Oh,
But
okay.
I know that it was there from when she deliberately
Gotcha,
placed it
gotcha.
there when she first had it. Yeah.
And she doesn't put it in the box, so it's if you were thinking about it, then you know it's still around.
Mm.
Gotcha. Rory gets this like sad. Oh, but when he first kissed me, I took this, and again, she doesn't let it like go too far. And Lorelei's like, "Let me handle this. I will take it. Don't worry about it. I will deal."
Mm-hmm. Doesn't even ask questions about like cornstarch. Yeah. You want to explain?
She
the
must know.
cornstarch to me?
I think she knows because
She stole
Rory.
it.
Oh, I think so, 100%. Because when Rory finally does tell Lorelai about the kiss, she like hops into bed with her, and they're having their like girly talk moment, right? So I think at that point she told her all of it.
Oh, good.
Otherwise, at any point in the last 3 months, Lorelai would have been like, "Why do you have cornstarch on your dresser?" And so Lorelai takes it, puts the box of cornstarch in the like not so hidden box in the closet, and then pulls down her own blanket covered box.
Of course, Lorelai has a box too. Of course she does.
And pulls out Max's book that she still has. His extremely
Crossing.
valuable book that she's not returned. But she tried. So, good. I mean, she did her best to give him his expensive book back. So, his loss. She just kind of considers the book for a bit. And then we see her arriving somewhere. And it's Suki's house.
Yeah. Okay, I need to say off the hop, I'm sorry, but I hate this whole scene. I hate the whole scene. It is all uncomfortable. I don't like seeing Suki like this. I really don't like any of the yelling that I see in this show. And this whole scene, I hate it because I just want to get going. It feels like we're just stalling and stuck. I think part of that is intentional, that we're supposed to be seeing a couple not agreeing, not in bliss. But okay, take it away.
Well, so they're at Suki's house, and Suki answers super distracted, like, yeah, come in, Lorelai, whatever, and just like brushes her off. Basically, goes and peers, like tries to peer through a crack in these double doors in Suki's living room, and Lorelai's like, okay, what's going on? Jackson is in there. She's like, ooh, is he doing something dirty? Like, I love that. That's where her mind goes, and she's not like repulsed. Like, should I leave? Like, is this too?
No,
she's like, ooh, like, what's happening? And so what's happening is that Jackson is cooking for Suki, and Suki, it's her job. She's a chef. She is having a really hard time letting go of control and letting him do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not cute. It's not funny. I am the person who, like for the majority of my relationship, I was the one cooking. And then when my husband would, you kind of want a backseat drive. And I still do it for sure, but not to that extent. And it's not cute. It was so uncomfortable. I'm like, so you could say it's better if you use a smaller pan or a bigger pan to like do the thing you need. And this is why. It's one thing to be calm and say, it's not literally the end of the world. Stop freaking out.
It comes down to like what pan he's using or what. It's very
and like what burner he's using
That's
for
it.
which pans and stuff like that. Does it matter if your Le Creuset is on the back left corner of the oven? Not really. Like, and they tried to make it funny and quirky, but it's not. And then Jackson comes out because Suki's trying to get Lorelai to go in and like tell her what's happening and like trying to insert Lorelai into it. And Lorelai, thank God, is not having it either.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, I'm going in there. And then Jackson opens the doors and is like, you're not coming in here, Suki. This is supposed to be romantic. Just let me do this. And he's mad.
Mm-hmm.
And she's mad. And they're both just so stressed. And I don't know about you and how you bounce back from situations like that, but I don't bounce back from situations like that. That ruins the night for me. I would not have a good dinner.
Yeah.
I would be upset. And the fact that he's like, this is supposed to be romantic. Well, it's not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't know how to salvage that night just from my mood. I would linger on the like distress from either person's perspective.
Yeah. I think I'm very much the same. And I wish one of them would just lean or slide or something. I mean, but if he gave in, then he would be indulging her control.
Control. Yeah.
And she's very much not going to. But I don't know. But I have a question. Have we seen her house before?
I don't think so.
Possibly just for like a blip, but it's
Mhm.
really cool. Her
Yeah.
living room is really cool. It's almost even more stylish somehow than the Gilmore's house. It's like a sort of terracotta, but like
Yeah, the, like, reddish
warmer
paint.
orange terracotta. Yeah, all on the walls. She's got house plants and like various floor stands, like quite tall. And she has a fishbowl, a decorative fishbowl. And her makeup. So as much as I hate
Mhm.
this scene, her house is beautiful and her makeup is beautiful. It's crisp, but it's like bold and quite striking. And her hair has been like 2001 flat ironed to a little bit beyond where it should.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she looks beautiful. So I tried to like focus on that in the scene instead.
And the house is big. And so once again, year 2000, a single woman on a chef's salary with this whole house. Like, you see Lorelai walking up the steps and she's got like a screened in porch. She's got like it's big. It is a family dwelling for a single woman working at a hotel, like at inn. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'm jealous because I don't have that.
As intense and like anxiety inducing as this scene is, I did laugh out loud at Lorelai and the Polaroid camera. She gets given this camera by Suki to be like, go in there and like take a picture and let me at least take a picture so I know like what he's dealing with and what the setup is. And Lorelai's like, no, I'm not going to do this. So she goes and sits down in the nearby armchair to be like, I'm not doing this. But she's still holding the camera. She sits down and accidentally presses the shutter. And you get this nice flash snap.
Yeah. And Lorelai kind of jumps.
Of, like, her chin.
She's like, wait, what? Yeah. And this is where I was Googling funny parsnips. Because when Jackson opens the doors, he's holding this like enormous parsnip.
It's like double-legged parsnip. Yeah. What is
right?
going on?
And I was like, it's borderline suggestive, this parsnip. Like, it's like a little bit extra, and then it was going to be a very suggestive parsnip. So, but it was like, I was like, is it even a parsnip? Because it's huge. And it has its like legs with its little like root tendrils at the bottom of it. And it's just ridiculous. And so I was like, am I even thinking of the right vegetable right now? So then I was Googling pictures of funny parsnips for a little while, and that was fun. And we learned that the whole point of Lorelai going over is to borrow Suki's car because Lorelai has offered Rory and Lane to take their car to the party. Actually, going back to that, one thing that I really, really like is Lorelai says to Rory, if you're going to be home past midnight, just call and let me know. And Lane tries to say like, oh yeah, well, we'll be home past midnight. And she was like, phone call. Like, I don't care if you say you're going to or not. But she was just like, I'm not talking to you. That's not important. You need to listen to what I'm actually saying and acknowledge the words that I'm saying, despite your best intentions. I love that because it didn't feel like Lane was like intentionally trying to brush it off at all. Like, she was just trying to be reassuring, of course. And then Lorelai's like, don't care, focus. Like,
I know things.
Exactly. So yeah, so she doesn't have a car. She wants to borrow Suki's car. And Suki, she says, take it. I'm in for the night. Go do your thing. And she takes it to go to Max's house. So